Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live Baltimore Presents. I am Baltimore, and today I am bringing you Fatal Attractions. That's the 1993 kind of crossover sort of anniversary celebration of the X-Men. 30th anniversary of X-Men mutant-related characters. Amazing, 1993. Such a great time. This is basically 6 issues, kind of standalone, but telling a greater, storyline involving X-Men and Magneto, of course, and all the through lines that happen through them. It's really amazing, great, great, fun storytelling, interesting, a lot of development happening, and you of course have these holographic gatefold covers that were so 90s, which I kind of love. But you have this is X-Men number 25, X Factor 92, Wolverine 75, Uncanny X-Men 304, X-Force 25, and Excalibur 71. This is one of the first times that Excalibur kind of comes back into the mutant-related storyline, which is great because I kind of loved it. I liked that they were off in their own corner, but I equally loved that they were back in and dealing with mutant stuff, mutant crossovers, kind of making them back in the family again. But this is really, really fascinating because each story, dealt with their own cast of characters and dealing with Magneto. At this moment, Magneto is up in Asteroid M, which is now called Avalon, leading the Acolytes, who are his followers. Up there you have Exodus, you have Cortez, you have Rusty and Skids, who have been brainwashed but now are kind of back on the... have their brainwashing, undone, but decide to stay up in Avalon because Magneto has helped them, and they kind of feel obligated to do that, which is really kind of fascinating. And so this kind of starts off in Uncanny X-Men 304, which is the funeral for Illyana Rasputin. So at this point, Illyana is killed from the legacy virus. She's de-aged back to her 7 and 8-year-old self, and it's really heartbreaking. All the X-Men come back to mourn her, and Magneto interrupts the funeral, offering them one last chance to stop things like this from happening. He used to teach magic, Illyana, so he does feel a little bit of regret and guilt for her death. And he says, anyone who wants to join me up in Avalon is welcome. And the surprise joining of Colossus shakes the X-Men. He decides he wants to go with Magneto and leave the X-Men. And it's just this moment you're like, this is a long time X-Men. Why would he be going with Magneto of all people? And it's just this incredible moment, fight that happens, and he leaves, and everyone's like, something must be happening. He can't make this choice of his own free will. There's got to be something else happening here. So they decide they're going to have to do whatever they can to save Colossus, stop Magneto, because he's going again on one of his maniacal rants and raves. In X Factor 92, you have the X Factor team stopping the Acolytes, who are attacking the Project Wide Awake base with new Sentinels who are set out to destroy mutants. So it's interesting to see the government-sanctioned team trying to defend Project Wide Awake and Camp Hayden from the Acolytes. And it's a very, very interesting moment because you have Havoc, you have Polaris, you have Wolfsbane, Majorox, Quicksilver, all of them trying to defend the camp against the Acolytes, who in their minds are doing the right thing, stopping Sentinels from being created who will end up killing mutants. So it's this really great moment that you have between Val Cooper, who is the government liaison to X Factor, and the X Factor team realizing what they're being requested to do. So it's a great story. You have Cortez making an impassioned plea to Quicksilver, who is Magneto's son, and saying, you have to be his heir. You have to come and accept your place in his side, which is really, really kind of fascinating to see, Quicksilver always trying to stand outside of his father's shadow, and always being brought back into it, which is really kind of uh, great, great depth for Quicksilver. You have X-Force in the X-Force number 25. You have them being approached by Exodus and saying, you have been taught by Magneto. He is allowing you to come to Avalon and live and be part of, the New Mutant regime. And they go to Avalon to kind of figure out if they can do what they can to kind of save Rusty and Skids, who have stayed on for what they think is from brainwashing, but are doing it because they feel an obligation to be there with the Acolytes. Cable comes in and saves them all and stops Exodus and the X-Force from destroying things. And he realizes the team realizes what's at stake, and how they kind of figure out X-Force is supposed to be the proactive branch of the X-Men. Acolytes are very proactive in their ideals, and so they're not necessarily too far away from each other idealistically. Just it's interesting to see them come at odds. And then you have the X-Men 25 and Wolverine 75, which are basically kind of piggyback off each other. The UN enacts the Magneto protocols, which basically puts an electromagnetic shield over the Earth so that Magneto can't use his powers to destroy things. But he does one better. He unleashes an electromagnetic pulse, which scrambles the Earth and does a lot of destruction and devastation. Jean, Gambit, Quicksilver, Rogue, Wolverine, and Professor X, using a mechanical contraption to walk, goes to Avalon to stop him, to have one last fight with Magneto, stop this for once and for all. And it's a really knockdown, drag-out fight. And you have the moment with Xavier and Magneto where he decides nothing he can do will save him. And he makes the decision to mind wipe Magneto. And this will have repercussions for years. This moment where he decides he has to do this. And he makes Magneto a vegetable. Mind wipes him. Completely gets rid of his personality, his ideal, his persona. Done. And they're also trying to save Colossus, who refuses to be, saved. And before the mind wipe actually happens, you have this ongoing question. Magneto is the master of magnetism. Okay? And then you have Wolverine, whose body is coated in adamantium metal. Metal versus Magneto. Why has he never really decided to do this? And at this moment, Magneto uses his powers to rip out the adamantium from Wolverine's body. And it is brutal. It is extreme. It is like, oh my god, I can't believe they went there. And of course, it makes complete sense, like, this would happen. And they do. And Wolverine almost dies. And this, goes into his issue 75, where they're coming back to Earth, trying to stop it. All the electromagnetic craziness devastates the Blackbird, and he's barely hanging on. Jean's trying to help him, and it's this life-death moment where he's like, he has no adamantium in his body anymore, and it's all those questions like, okay, well, if he doesn't have adamantium in his body, if his bones aren't laced with adamantium, does that mean he has no claws? His claws were metal claws. And then we will find out later on that the adamantium bonded also with his claws, so he actually had, bone claws before this. And that was really kind of incredible and like, wow, mystery, resolved a little bit to find that out. And it was just really brutal. Like, it reverted him. It really devastated Wolverine. His healing factor had to work overtime to kind of compensate for everything. and it was just incredible. And then you had the tail end of this, which was Excalibur 71, which was really a great issue because you have the Excalibur team, which is Nightcrawler and Kitty and Captain Britain and Megan. And they were set to find out what was going on with Colossus. He was injured before, and they think that his heel turn to Magneto was due to this injury. So they basically concoct a ruse to get him back to Muir Island and heal him, and figuring that this will allow him to make the decision to stay with the X-Men, that he didn't really want to be with the Acolytes. It was some sort of brainwashing or something, and it was really, really a great character work because Kitty and Colossus used to be together. They are this kind of great love romance story of the X-Men. Now they were on the outs, and she uses his love for her, their kind of connection, to bring him back, and it didn't work. They were able to heal him, cure him, but he decided, no, I made this decision in my right mind. I am going to be with Magneto because of what Xavier has done. I am going to be up there, and maybe I can save him. Maybe I can do the right thing for him. And it was really, really interesting because this is great, great, great way to kind of celebrate 30 years of the X-Men with Magneto and all of the various titles that are happening and moving the story forward. This will lead directly into Blood Ties, which is the 30th anniversary of the X-Men and the Avengers. A really great storyline as well. But I really loved Fatal Attractions. It definitely lived up to its name. Definitely a lot of repercussions coming out of this. Ramifications for Colossus, for Magneto, for Wolverine. And it was just really amazing. You can find this collected anywhere at the comics stores or online. I really highly suggest you take a look at this. Let me know what your favorite part of Fatal Attractions was. It the Wolverine issue? Was it X-Force, Excalibur? Let me know what your favorite issue of the Fatal Attractions storyline was. Like, subscribe, and comment, and share all of those things. And I will be back with more Marvel goodness for you soon. Because always, it's all geek to us. See ya.